go to what we were talking about during the commercial break. Where is my man? Here, I told him I wanted to show him. They haven't responded yet, but there's someone called Small Ball Podcast listening to the show. He said, "Why can't Perry just realize the path to building a sustainable winner in SAC is by tanking?" So before, I don't want it to feel like we're picking on Small Ball Podcast, because I'll tell you this straight up. This question came to a group text message, like a friend group text message that Kenny and I are on. And I'll tell you the same thing I told y'all know it was Kamara. I'll tell you the same thing we told Kamara. Tanking does not work. You cannot name a single team that has tanked and has been successful. Not one. If your mission is to get back to exactly where you were before you started tanking, salute to the Philadelphia 76ers. You did it. Mm-hmm. Do not try to convince yourself that the Oklahoma City Thunder tanked. That is not what they did. They managed their assets in the most beautiful way when they had Paul George held like it was a Money in the Bank ladder match over the Los Angeles Clippers. And they were desperate to land Kawhi Leonard. I think there is zero chance Kawhi Leonard was ever signing with the Los Angeles Lakers. But the Clippers didn't know that. They gave up everything to pair Paul George with Kawhi Leonard, and that includes Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. At no point did they tank. At no point did they not attempt to win games. Did they have a great basketball team in totality? No, they didn't. But what did they go on to do? They got Chris Paul. They went on to do a variety of different things to help get to the moment that was last year. Which, of course, led to the moment that they're at right now. That is not tanking. That is managing your roster in the most effective way possible. You want to talk about tanking? Is Utah tanking? Because they suck. They suck. They're directionless, and they tanked on a hope and a prayer for Cooper effing Flag, and it failed. Dallas made the goddamn play-in when we thought they were done. Did they tank? No. What did they get out of the deal? They got Cooper Flag. Tell me more how tanking builds a sustainable winner. Managing your assets builds a sustainable winner. Let's start there. I'm sorry. No, go ahead, because I feel like you might just pick up where I'm leaving off. Go ahead.
You got securing the bag that says they sat SGA for 2 or 3 years. That's because they had SGA, right? So they had a guy that, oh, this is a foundational piece. They already had that. Number 2, the other thing about that is they were able to get a guy that they targeted as a guy that, we want this guy. They probably didn't know he was going to be an MVP. I'm not going to say that. But they were able to target a guy like that because you can make whatever jokes you want about Paul George today and, all this other stuff and playoff P and all this other. That's fine. He was a top 5 MVP candidate in the league when he was traded from OKC. In the league. That's how they were able to get all those picks and SGA because he was a top 5 MVP candidate at that time. Domantas Sabonis isn't that. Zach LaVine is not that. DeMar DeRozan is not that. So thinking that you can do what OKC did and everything be fine, that's a whole nother thing. And here's the other thing. Are you going to stay on OKC? Because I got one more thing to say about OKC.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, go ahead.
You got SGA, who was the 11th pick and got from in a trade. The 11th pick got in a trade for Paul George. What draft pick was Jalen Williams?
Was it 16?
I think it was 16.
16, 17.
What draft pick was Lou Dort?
Out of the lottery.
Undrafted.
Undrafted.
What about Caruso? Did you draft him? Did you tank for Caruso?
No. I don't think so. That'd be
you got Chet at 2.
Strategy. Yeah.
You got Chet at 2. So that was tank, I guess, or whatever the case may be.
Or not being good.
That too. That too. And I'll even give you this. You got Giddey, and that allowed you to get Caruso. Was that a tank situation as well, or was it just not being good?
It's almost as if maybe drafting properly leads to your team functioning well. I just pointed, like, this is what Securing the Bagley does, and we love our brother. He says Utah is going to be better than the Kings. salute. You can have that one. That is your death take right there. Next to your screen name, that's your death take. But you can keep that one. Let's go to David Lopez. It's our brother right here, the other D-Lo on the show. So why not follow the OKC model and trade your core players for picks and just run a trash lineup? Levine and DeMar and Sabonis won't win games. So let's dissect what David Lopez is talking about right here. Levine, DeMar, and Sabonis versus OKC Russell Westbrook and Paul George. Let me try that again. Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and Domantas Sabonis versus OKC Russell Westbrook and Paul George. Between LaVine, DeMar, and Domas, all three of them together, you can probably land one first-round pick, and it would be for Domas. You're not getting one from DeMar. You sure as hell are not getting one for Zach LaVine. And I'm sorry to tell you this uncomfortable reality. As frustrating as it might be with the way that the Sacramento Kings handled the De'Aaron Fox situation, and it is perfectly fine if you're upset with the way that they handled it and they settled on Zach LaVine. If you think the idea should have been wait for the offseason, you're probably right. If the idea should have been you only work with San Antonio and you make them trade for it, great. If you think you were netting a multiple first-round pick trade for De'Aaron Fox, you're sorely mistaken. This isn't hate. I have no venom to that brother whatsoever. The league watches the league. They see everything you have ever been frustrated about with De'Aaron Fox. They all see it. If you think there would have been this massive, robust market for De'Aaron Fox where there would have been a bidding war, unlike anything we've ever seen in Sacramento, you're dead wrong. Could you have netted a first-round pick? Absolutely. I think they did net a first-round pick. Could you have netted two? Maybe if there were really two teams interested. Between Russell Westbrook and Paul George, you got like 8. And you got Shea. That OKC model isn't realistic unless Victor Wembanyama gets drafted by San Antonio and says, I'm just staying in France unless you go trade for De'Aaron Fox. That's what happened. That's what happened in Oklahoma City. That's the only way De'Aaron Fox would have netted you anything near what Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with that trade, with the Paul George trade, netted for Oklahoma City. Wemby says, I'm staying in France unless you go get De'Aaron Fox. Then you make off like a bandit. Outside of that, you were just going to kind of get what you got.
The year before OKC traded Paul George averaged, this was him on Oklahoma City. So this year, and then they traded him that offseason. Paul George averaged 28 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. He was third in MVP voting. He was third in Defensive Player of the Year. He was an all-star. He was all-NBA first team. He was all-NBA defense first team. That's why you could ask for what OKC asked for. We'll even go a step further. You talk about Russell Westbrook. The years, I could go more, but let's go 4 years. The 4 years before the Oklahoma City Thunder traded Russell Westbrook, he was 4th in MVP voting, an all-star, all-NBA second team, 4th in MVP voting, an all-star, all-NBA first team, the MVP, an all-star, all-NBA first team, 5th in MVP, an all-star, all-NBA second team, 10th in MVP voting, an all-star, all-NBA third team. That's why you could ask for what you asked for Russell Westbrook. Those are the resumes we're talking about. I got no disrespect for these guys. And obviously, I like them a lot more than other people. But we're not talking about Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. We're not even talking about Domantas Sabonis, who was able to muster up in the last 2 years 8th place finish in MVP voting and a 7th place finish.
Mm-hmm.
We are talking about when they were traded, 2 of the top 10 players in the game. That's why you can't do the OKC model. You don't have those players to get that type of return. Period.
Let's look at a couple of things here because this Big John Poles asked, so Desmond Bane had a bigger market than Fox. I don't know that he had a bigger market. I want to go to Cam, too. Cam says that Bane haul trips me out. I don't know that Desmond Bane had a bigger market. Desmond Bane had a team that was desperate to land a player with his skill set. So they gave up the assets that they believed they needed to acquire him. Orlando thinks this is the guy that puts us on a different level. We outlined this with Indiana and Pascal Siakam. They spent that $200-some-odd million on Pascal Siakam because this is the guy to pair with Tyrese Halliburton who's going to take us to a different level. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about this. This is our duo. This is who we're riding with. Orlando made the decision. This is our guy. This is who we're going with. No team felt that way about De'Aaron. Because if they did, no matter how badly Vivek, Monty, anyone in that circle wanted Zach LaVine, and I do believe it was Vivek, they would have stopped and said, wait a minute. This team is offering what we'll just call now, even though it didn't happen, the Desmond Bane return. No one is saying no to that. No one felt that way. Absolutely no one. Now, there's multiple reasons for it. One, no one will call a player's punk card, or not a player, it's not on De'Aaron. No one will call an agent's punk card. They won't. Oh, we're not going to re-sign there, the old Rich Paul line. No, man, he's going to come in, he's going to work his ass off. He's just not going to re-sign with you. Now, people take that as he's not going to re-sign with you ever. Like that's what Rich Paul was saying about Anthony Davis. That's not what he was saying. He's saying he's not going to sign with you before he hits free agency. Look at the Lakers. He didn't re-sign with the Lakers until he hit free agency. That is a financial move. But the financial move changes if you sign with the team that you're on versus moving to a new team. Maybe this is why I can't have a basketball team. Because I'd be like, yeah, go ahead. Walk away from the 50 million or 40 million or whatever it is. Go ahead. Walk away. I'm going to use your talents to help my team try to win a championship this year. Mm-hmm. If you decide after whatever we do, you want to leave, hey, salute. Good riddance. This isn't going to be a sign and trade. I'm not going to help you net what you want. If you don't want to play here, you can leave. But we're doing what OKC did. And we're going to take this risk and we're going to go sign Paul George. And it worked out for them. He re-signed, partied with Russell Westbrook, and then dipped. Out of here. And if he hadn't dipped, the Oklahoma City Thunder would not be the champions. Masai Ujiri, God rest his soul, not dead, just unemployed. He said, no, we've kind of hit our ceiling with DeMar and Kyle Lowry. We're going to make this move for Kawhi Leonard. We're going to do everything we can to re-sign him, but we think we can win a championship with him. We were a 60-win basketball team. We believe Kawhi is better than DeMar. We believe he can put us over the top. I don't care what happened. I don't care if you fire Masai Ujiri 10 years later. That man took that risk and won a title.
Okay. That's a great point because that was something else I was going to get to, right? Because they always talk about how tanking is the only way to a sustainable winner, right? Well, let's look at the winners the last 10 years. And let's find out how many of them tanked to get to that point. 2015, the Warriors, did they tank?
2015, they did not.
2016, Cleveland Cavaliers, did they tank?
No, they were just bad prior to LeBron's arrival. 2017
Warriors, did they tank?
Yes, they tanked to get Kevin Durant.
2018 Warriors, did they tank?
They did not.
Okay. 2019 Raptors, did they tank?
They were a 60-win team the year prior.
2020 Lakers, did they tank?
No, but that one doesn't count.
2021
Alex
Bucks.
Caruso even said so. No.
2021 Bucks.
2021 Bucks went through it. No.
2022 Warriors, did they tank?
Well, no, but
They didn't
They
even
didn't
use those players.
They didn't. They just fell face first into the Larry O'Brien.
Yeah,
Salute.
you can skip that one.
Yeah,
So-
sorry. Congratulations.
2023 Nuggets, did they tank?
Oh, they did not. They stuck with it and won a title.
2024 Celtics, did they tank?
I got this one. No.
2025 Thunder. I'll even be nice because we dispelled that, but I'll be nice and said they tanked.
Mm.
One of the last 10 champions tanked.
Mm.
One. So here's the thing that I always have an issue with small ball podcasts and David Lopez and all this other stuff. If you believe
You say their names in a way that makes it sound like you want to fight them. I try to say their names in a loving way. Like, oh, my man David Lopez, small ball podcast. But you sound like Ving Rhames and Baby Boy when you're talking.
guns and butter.
Mm-hmm.
Guns and butter. Securing the Bagley, I'll talk to you too. If you believe tanking is the way to go, I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong for that thinking. I'm really not. We outlined some stuff and we had a debate class but if that's what you feel, fine.
Mm-hmm.
What you can't tell me, and this is where we go back and forth and we talk about it. What you can't tell me is that is the way to win. Because that's not true. That's false.
I saw someone bring up, I don't think I started, so I didn't. So apologies for not giving the recognition to someone. Someone asked, the Pistons tanked, right? And they're in a good spot. I don't think the Pistons tanked. I think they were bad. They landed Cade. He developed. Now, let's go back to the beginning of last year. They were the surprise of the league. Nobody expected them to do that. People this time last year laughed at them because they had available cap space that they couldn't use on Malik Monk, the lone team that went after Malik Monk, and used it on Tobias Harris. People laughed at that. They weren't laughing at the end of the year when that team was playing the way that they were. J.B. Bickerstaff, the perpetual interim coach, took that team, a job nobody wanted. Don't act like this was a plan. Nobody saw this happening with Detroit. The question is, and this is where I'm on a wait and see approach. I love what Detroit did last year. I'm also completely unsure how they did it. No shade whatsoever at J.B. Bickerstaff. He just always, that wasn't a coveted job. It doesn't appear to be a job anyone wanted. And he took it coming off of the run in Cleveland. And he killed it. How are you going to follow that up? Because everyone's talking about Detroit. Oh, the Pistons are going to be this. The Pistons are going to be that. Man, I remember 2 years ago when the Kings lost that 7-game series, what they were saying about the Kings after that. And how did it go? What's Detroit doing right now? What did they do last week? What are they doing right now? And how is that going to sustain them through an Eastern Conference? Hey, Atlanta's working. Whether it works or not remains to be seen. But they're trying. Like, they're trying to put Trey ain't going nowhere. They're trying to put players around Trey. We ain't even got to what is going on in Milwaukee yet. Celtics, with or without Jason Tatum, is a good basketball team. The Knicks, once they hire Mike Brown or whatever they're going to do, they're going to be a good basketball team. Okay. I'm going to take a wait and see approach with Detroit before you tell me that they had this big turnaround that worked crazy.
That's fair.
And Paul makes Paul, my man, Paul. Go ahead.
No, I got him.
I'll put it on the screen and you say it.
I got him because this is the other problem that I have when I talk.
Yep.
You can't tell me both things.
Yep.
You can't tell me two things. So we have all agreed, Jesse, Kyle, everybody's, that the Kings were on to something with Beam Team 1. They loved Beam Team 1. This was it. We found it. 17 years. We finally got it right. We got the right coach. Everything is good. We have Fox. We have Domas. We have Keegan. We have Herter. We have Monk. We have all these guys, right? Did they tank to get that? Did the Kings tank to get that team?
Oh, no, they were just bad for a decade and a half.
Even the players that they acquired. Did they tank to get those players?
No.
No. So when you can't look at that team and be like, we missed out on something, we had something cooking and everything, all this other stuff, and then tell me tanking is the only way to get better.
That's not what I thought you were going to say at all.
I can tell because you didn't put it up there.
It's not even close.
What'd you think he was going to say?
Detroit has a guy.
Well, that's a whole nother thing.
Detroit has a guy. That is a massive difference between Detroit, Sacramento. You talk like we're talking Utah. Who's that? Is it maybe it's Ace? Maybe. Detroit has a guy in Cade Cunningham. Sacramento Kings do not. They do not have a guy. They got guys. They got bros, brodies,
fellas.
They don't have a guy, a dude, the one. They do not have that. And they never did.
No. Now, and then here goes the revisionist history. Now, all of a sudden, we did tank for De'Aaron Fox. I thought we never tanked. I thought the Kings have never tanked. I thought if Vivek would just get out the way and let this team tank, then everything will be all right. But now, when I got you, when I got your argument on life support, oh, now they tank for Fox, who was the top 5 pick. Once again, you said it a number of different times. You guys don't know the difference between tanking and just being naturally bad, just not being good. Did they tank the next year when they got Bagley and had the opportunity to draft Luka and they didn't?
Well,
matter of fact,
you could make the argument they didn't put forth the best effort that year.
Oh, that's dead wrong. Do we remember what that summer was?
That was the George Hill, Vince Carter summer, no?
Yeah.
But then what happened?
Well, no, I'm talking about that summer.
Yeah.
They weren't to tank. You draft Fox, you sign those guys. If you were tanking, you would draft Fox and not sign anybody and try to be bad the next day. They lucked into the number 2 pick.
They did, but they also pulled the plug on those guys halfway through the season.
They did. But I'm just talking about going.
No, I got you. Yeah. They didn't think they were going to be that bad.
That's my point.
They didn't think they were going to be bad. And when they realized they were, that's why I never understand why Kings fans are upset with George Hill. George Hill was.
Well, he was a bit of a jerk about it.
He might have been, but it's hey man, no, we're not. You're going to come here and compete. We're trying to win games. Look, we got Vince, we got Zebo coming in. You get it wasn't even 41 games into the season where they pulled those guys, Garrett Temple aside, like, hey man, we're gonna change our approach here. And I remember Garrett Temple was not quiet about this. He said this on the radio show I was on at the time. I didn't expect this. None of us did. Then they had a series of injuries take place where guys like George, I think they wound up trading George Hill, but Garrett Temple, some of these guys had to play, I think, a little bit more than they anticipated, but it was dead at that time.
And forgive me if I'm getting my years incorrect, but even when they decided to ship those guys off, weren't they still slated to draft 9 or 10? Or was it even they jumped? Oh,
they jumped. Yeah, they jumped.
By the luck of the ping pong balls.
I can't remember if it was 8 or 10, but they jumped from one of those numbers to get to 2. Yeah. I think it was Chicago they jumped.
Yeah, you guys are making it like let's just be bad and have 25 wins.
No.
That's not how they got to 2.
Yeah.
It's not how they got to 2.
And they got it wrong. That's the other part of all of this.